Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I am Michael Gracia, and I have got a great show for you tonight. Man, it's been a great day. All right, and I'm excited for today's show because I got a good friend of mine on. We're going to talk about topics that I love, that he loves, which is why he's coming on. But before I bring him on, let's remember that today, where is it? Right there at the Wiz Comic. It is Wiz Wednesday. The new Wiz strip is out today. Um, so follow at the Wiz Comic on both Facebook and Instagram, or whichever one you like, and follow the adventures. Speaking of the Wiz, you can get the Whimsical Wiz, the complete 2023 collection. Both, well, actually not both on. Just right now, this one on Amazon. Just type my name in or type in the Whimsical Wiz. It's got all 52 strips plus a few extra bonus pages. Or you can find me at a convention and pick it up there. I will be at Undiscovered Realm Con in the last weekend in June. So I just hit a button on my keyboard. I don't know what it is. It just changed the look of my screen. Okay, I brought it back. All right, so let's bring on a good friend of mine, a fantastic fantasy artist, specializes in map making, fantasy maps. This guy is insane in the way he draws maps. He does so much stuff in in the fantasy world. Let's bring on Andrew Frank Rodriguez. Hey.
Hello, everyone. How you guys doing? Thanks for the vote of confidence.
Dude, you do a lot, and it is your favorite genre.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a bit about that tonight. Let me just set up my screen so I can see stuff better. And that screen's good. That screen's good. So everything's good to go. I got my 3 screens all the way. And you got what is that? A little figure?
My mini. One of my minis for my games. We'd like to get on my right now.
Bring it in.
I painted one of my minis. That's all. Just hello, everyone. So yeah, even like all the cool detail and everything. So yeah, so I'm fully invested in this industry. Nice. I think once I build my own phylactery, so I can turn myself into an undead lich, so I can, live forever to create my crafts. I'll be fine.
Well, it's the dream, for any artist. Live forever and create the craft. It's
not world domination. No. I just need more time to draw.
Yeah, that's all I want. That's all I ever want. More time to draw, more time to write, more time to create. I'll throw sleep in there somewhere, but mostly drawing.
Sleeping like this, like, oh no, what's going on?
Dude, I will tell you, there were times when I was in school, like college or even high school, where I fell asleep on my sketching pad. Like I just passed out in class, and 3-ring binder. The spiral notebooks, and you get the sketch pad spirals kind of engraved into your face there.
Or when you hold it too long, it's like in your hand. It's like you have the spiral and
and the weight of that thing after you. It's funny. It was one of those things where like I could hold a drawing pad. I have this piece of paper. Yeah, here's a little Captain America I did. But I could hold a drawing pad like this, up, like relaxed, a little lower, but so you can see on screen, like this, literally for hours drawing, and the weight of that would not bother me.
No.
But the second my mom would say, "Michael, can you sweep the kitchen floor?" the weight of the broom was too much, That's. But yeah, so
I was lucky in that retrospect. My mom, my dad would be like, did you sweep the floor? I was like, yeah. He goes, did you sweep the hallways? I was like, oh no. He goes, what about your other brothers? One of us had to have done it. So it's like all of us, like, they're like the Spider-Mans where they're all pointing to each other. So who did who? So I had lucky, I had like many other siblings. They're like, he did it. No, I didn't. I didn't do it at all. Like, one funny story is that one day, like, all my brothers were like I was drawing, and they go, why is Andrew always drawing? And we need to sweep around Andrew, but he has like the circle of mess of creativity around him. We can't clean anything. And it's because I was a kid, I used to have like all these sketch pads, and I can't work on a table like now. I can because I'm a professional now working on a table. But throw this pad on the floor, the pencils were everywhere, and just me like just drawing like looking at one comic book and drawing it in the other, and just tracing stuff too. Like when you're a kid, you had like all these tracing paper, and basically that's how you first start drawing. You start getting curious about like just drawing superheroes, and you try to like trace it up like that. But up into my teens, that was my workstation, and like I could tell you, hey, sweep up the floor. Oh, Andrew, and we can't. Andrew's on the floor using the whole break corner.
Listen, let me tell you, I won't say sometimes, I would say at least once a day I draw like that. I draw like on a couch. I don't usually get on the floor anymore. It's hard to get up these days. But I'll lay on the couch. I'll lay in bed. And I'll lay like I was a little kid, like on my stomach. And I will sketch. And I think, I don't know if this is a mental thing in my head. Or it's just I'm old and tired now. But it kind of brings me back to my childhood, and it makes me feel like I can still stay in touch with that child in me that wants to create art, that wanted to draw, comics, superheroes, whatever it was. It was just I get that feel. So for me, I feel like I do it because there's a comfort level to it, and also, but at the same time, I just think it keeps me in touch and in tune with the reason I wanted to start doing all this stuff, So, but I'm sorry, you were going to say something?
Well, yeah, like here's like when you start any project now, like especially when I'm like when you're doing the Wiz, where I'm creating either a map or an area or pretty much a dungeon crawl.
Yeah.
When you start, you are pretty much isolated. You're sitting down. You're thinking, what should I be drawing? And like any little disturbance is gone. Like to me, that's how I usually, like when you say your process is like just staying on the floor. My process right now is just like literally lying on the bed and just like, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
Or just like, again, like, because I'm more of like I want to be more visually like 3-dimensional now. I build stuff too and stuff like that. So yeah, you need to find your space to do that. Like everyone has to have that space.
Yeah.
And so like even as a kid, even to like adult, you still got to have like that weird area where it's very chaotic,
Yeah, I always clean before I start a new project, and then I have no problem messing anything up, but I have to clean at least the areas that I'm working in before I begin. Like my studio, I'm always in the process of cleaning. I look around here and I'm just like, oh man. And because I got so much organizing to do, I got all this stuff to do. And honestly, I do a lot digital. For a couple of reasons, but I'm looking to going back to a little more traditional because I'm tired of staring at a screen all day. I'm tired of looking into, this light, which anyway, I'll end up in a light box at some point anyway, tracing my work. But I feel it's different. I could draw, and I could just use my drawing table, use my drawing pad, something, where I'm not constantly staring into the screen. I spend my work.
I have a lot of respect for color, and especially people, artists and colorists, and even do the font.
Hold on one second. You're breaking up a little bit. I think
do the font types.
Okay, yeah.
Even the guide types. We're there. I time 4 hours, and twitchy. I can't do it, but
Mhm.
I try to plan out work so I don't my eyes. And I know. I mean, I think we have a mutual friend of ours who does like a really cool. She does like a really sacrimony. I think her comic book. I think Adira. Her name. I know her name is Adira, but everyone calls her. I forgot her name. Metal Sorcery. She does all these great works, and I'll be like, how can you like you draw digitally? And she has like these great digital. And I'm like, I'm in the back of my head, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of digital work. Like, I'm watching now the new professionals, these new kids who are just doing like these manga. The majority of these manga artists, kids, they're just like on the computer, just
Yeah.
knowing what they want to do, knowing what to do in the story. Here's the thing: it saves a lot of paper.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, how many like storyboard papers have we gone through? How many, the blue line paper folders you have to buy? They're very expensive, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have so much respect for people who can actually sit down and do it digitally.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it to a degree, but I just miss traditional, and I'm tired. I don't want to. I get tired of my from working all day on a computer and then having to do my artwork, whether it's before I start my day job and or after my day job, that I want to step away from the computer.
Well, here's
And
here's what you have to do.
yeah,
You want to step away. You can't just. I have the 4 hours in, 2 hours out, then another 2 hours in. I get at least 6 hours of like digital, and I'm not saying in general, but just digital drawings.
mhm,
I pull myself away after a 4 hour mark or even a 3 hour mark.
mhm.
I pull myself away. I've never really shared digital work because of the fact than me putting it center if it's not finished, and if I rely to the client so much. Most of my now, most of my new maps are right now. Here's the thing, like,
Oh, hold on, hold
you
on.
know,
Just take a moment, because again, you kind of froze, so I missed a lot of what you just said. But from the
I'm
gist of, it's okay. But from the gist of what I'm hearing is you do a break after 4 hours. You do a
yes,
2 hour break and then you go back. And unfortunately, my issue is my day job is literally on the
yeah,
computer, sitting straight, looking at the computer. So there is, and I do get it step away, but you step away 5-10 minutes, rest your eyes.
yeah,
You can't, you have work to do. You can't just step away for an
right,
hour. you know.
right, right.
So for me, it's like I because I have to pay my bills,
Yeah,
and I have
I've
to be
done that.
on a
Yeah,
computer. I wanna start working traditionally again.
but it's so crazy because when you're digitally drawing, see, I think because when I'm doing, I could sit like for hours on my computer watching a podcast like yours, or watching a stream service. I'm not gonna give them a name. They got enough. I'll just say stream service. Uh, you understand what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
your eyes, yeah, because you're glancing over, you're not really thinking. But when you're digitally drawing, you're intensely looking, in like a
Yeah.
light bulb in your face, because you need to get this exact line, and you're just like,
Keep
it's so
undoing,
it's
and
yeah, so it's like it's stress
yeah,
and
yeah,
light
yeah.
bulb, light
I
torture.
mean, but it's funny. But first, I just want to say hi to Dylan in the audience and to Joe Ryan.
Hello,
Thanks, you
Dylan.
guys, for tuning in. No, like, for me, this, and I can only talk about me, no other artist. I went into digital because, and I don't know if you can really tell, but I've been on here and my hand
Yeah,
shakes. Okay, and I transferred to digital mostly for that undo button. But I found that if I really focus specifically when I'm inking, I can actually ink better traditionally than digitally. And also, it's a lot of the digital brushes, having to get used to the stuff. And so one of the things I'm looking into I mean, I just bought some new pads, some 11 by 17 for some comic book work. I want to, I know I could use those, but I want to get a couple of 11 by 14 so that I can draw the Wiz and a couple of other strips that I'm doing traditionally. And it'll give it a completely different look because my inks traditionally look completely different than digital. And but I still want to color digitally. I still want to letter digitally. Because the extra work on my hand for that, just no. So I'm looking into a good multifunctional scanner printer that'll allow me to scan at least 11 by 17. So I could do that. So that's my major hunt before I go into traditional, like, again, a lot. But there's another reason I'm cleaning that studio. That back table is going to be the only place a printer like that could go.
It's crazy. My nephew, who's also a digital artist, and he does a lot of like shonen style Naruto kind of like, because that's his influence, pretty much anime. I talk about American comics. I really don't, except for the Avengers. Even though his father, who was a big comic book guy, dressed up his entire room of Marvel and DC comics and toys and stuff and everything.
Yeah, listen, you like what you like, so
yeah.
you can.
And when he grew older, those toys went down, and the My Hero Academia stuff went up. So it's how it is. But when he's digital drawing, I noticed he had no scanner, but he had such a great. He had a great camera on his phone that he's like, oh no, I don't even scan anymore. I just take the pictures and I go into the contrast. And after that, I started doing that because I was like, he goes, well, we can't have some people can't afford expensive scanners, and I know the kid can because the kid works for like my nephew does work. He's like in his 20s now, but he does work for like a big supermarket. And so he does work like he does, as for years, he just works for a supermarket. Then after that, he just pays for his equipment.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he just bought this one phone, and he was like, this is like $1,000 phone with payments. And he was just playing with settings. And so he was like trying to find out how to get the perfect pictures, not to get too much. And my nephew did it. Like he showed me how to do it. And that's right for the past few years, I've been taking a picture and just trying to clean it digitally, make it into a TIFF file, put it on a grayscale, and it works. I mean,
I have played around with that.
I've never printed any of my works, so the new photos, I've never printed them to see if it actually is print worthy. See if I could just go CM, the CMMK setting, and just see if I could if something that the camera doesn't pick up. But there was no so a scanner is cool, but if you have a really good phone. I'm right now telling people techniques.
No, listen, it's fine because I've actually done that in the. I'll show you one of the bonus pages in the Wiz book here.
Yeah.
All this on the it might be hard to see. All of these were pencil drawings that I scanned in from my phone because I don't have a scanner. So some were ink drawings and stuff. So those 2 pages right there are all from my phone. I know how to do it.
Yeah.
But, I got a iPhone 11. But there's still something. There's a loss in there that I would rather have a regular scanner and just bring it into Photoshop and work the way I'm comfortable. You
kind of lose a lot of dot per inches. Yeah. It's what it is. You really do. For some reason, you do lose a the actual dot per print. Yeah.
But there is a lot of times I will sketch something on paper and just photograph my phone and airdrop it to my computer and just draw over it, resize it. I don't care about the resolution. I don't care about the scan as long as the image is in there. It's just not it's
viable.
I need a different method, and I need to go back to a better scanner. And normally I wouldn't even get a printer because I rarely use a printer, but I figure if I'm going to get a scanner, I might as well get a printer in there so I have it for emergencies, you know?
But like right now, here's the thing. When I scan okay, here's what I already taught people how to. I think in one of my videos I've had in Instagram, if you go to my Instagram, Andrew Frank Rodriguez art, or if you go to my live stream, my videos through Andrew Frank Rodriguez art and Andrew Frank Rodriguez art in Facebook. Now
Yeah.
I show people how to texture.
I'm gonna give you the screen. Hold on one second.
Sure.
There you go.
Here's the thing. This is what I call I texture my own paper. Like I actually buy paper, and I actually go through the process of actually texturing it because I actually want to have like control even the splotches. And you can tell this paper is only maybe a few years old, but it probably looks decades old, or even like maybe several decades old. And I actually have like what we have is the fold. So when you fold it, it actually looks like, and I actually have like little pinpricks. So it's like it was probably an old map that was in a book that was removed. Even my map has to tell a story. And so I'll put it down. Like all these textures sometimes don't get really, when I take a picture of them, they don't come out. Absolutely cannot. Once you scan them, I get every single wrinkle. So when I say I get what you're talking about, you're losing your dot per inch, and you're actually with me. I need a scanner because my work was so like just so old school.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that once I scanned an image, and I want to pick up the imperfections of the paper. That's the sell of an old map.
Yeah.
Like I even had some Joker that I was working with, and he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy. He was doing his book. He's kind of young too, and he goes, "Well, can you clean up all the age look for the paper?" And I was like, "Sure, you could clean up the." And pretty much you just play with the color settings and stuff like that. And I started, but after a while, it was like, okay, then can you put it back? Like just, because he didn't want the aged look. He just wanted a brown map.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but you want a treasure map, right? When I think of a treasure map, I think of Goonies.
Yeah. Exactly.
When I think of treasure map, I think of like Indiana Jones, where they always find like some kind of map, or even, which I thought was like the most impressive thing was the new movie. They actually had a map, like in all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, they all have the beautiful like prop maps that I wish I can find. Even the one that has like the circle map that makes you find the lost city of like Atlantis and stuff like that. But these are impressive props, and now scanning those images, and you're told, "Hey, take out those images." Oh, did you flip out?
I lost sound for a second. Are you there?
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, but yeah. So I scan it. I try to scan it to I think 400. I'm talking like 400 for the just instead of 750 or 750, I go to 300. That's the resolution of.
Well, 300 should be your basic for high res.
Yeah. So I try to get like 400, even though it makes the size of my image is crazy. But once I turn that into a JPEG file, I mean, it gets shrunk down. It gets shrunk down again. So it was really like even converting old images that's supposed to be looking old is a factor. So like when I'm designing my maps. So right now, going to digital mapping, I'm talking about drawing it digitally. I just pretty much took a bunch of. I went to my scanner and just scanned a bunch of my old paper, and then played with the colors, added some different colors. I was like, okay, and I have my own and the thing is, these are my own textile images that I have, like my own, just like for my own personal. So A lot of my brother actually looked at one of the folders. He goes, "What's all this?" He goes, "It's just pictures of paper and broken bricks and stuff like that." It was just basically my points of reference,
Yeah.
like a folder, just my points of reference when I came up with math. He goes, "You should just sell that. You should go to Canva and sell that." Like I was like, "Sure," but then Canva wants my money, my images.
No, honestly, what you do,
I'm always paranoid with that. Like like, oh no, you don't own your image because you used my service. Like,
no,
but I get
here's
it,
the
it's
thing.
scam, but it's true.
Look into something better. Canva, I don't know how that works, but seriously, look into something like Gumroad and sell
Gumroad.
packet, or you can sell it on Etsy, and there's a few others. I'd have to get the names for you, but
I heard a lot about Etsy.
Yeah, digital downloads. I see a lot of people making money selling that type of stuff.
Yeah, because I like right now I have, because I can't show it because I'm not on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
I have done a map that is 8-bit, so it's like an 8-bit map. So if you want to play like a Dungeon Dragon Call map that looks like tiles, it's just like a textile tiles, and I designed it to be 8-bit, just for people who want the old style video game aesthetic.
Yeah,
and there is like a certain market where people do play other role-playing games other than fantasy. I know it's shocking, but it was shocking to me, But but there was a market for like just taking points of references and building like my own digital library of that. So I have like all these beautiful like renders of like. This is new, like Fallout, the Fallout games. The Fallout. I remember before they even had the games, I actually made it look. I actually made a mini of my Fallout character.
Oh wow!
So that's nice. Like hand sculpted Fallout characters that I've made, nice. And then this is like another one. So I made like 2 of them and I created a Fallout campaign. Now for my person, I didn't sell these because I don't have the rights to the game, but for my own personal use. In my own personal Fallout, tabletop RPG game, I designed the maps to look like they actually came out of the Pip-Boy. What I love about it is, what I love designing the Pip-Boy maps was there's just a monotone green color. That's it. There really isn't a colored map that has deep, rich ridges or anything. It doesn't show that. It's pretty much like a green scale line. All my friends who I want to know the legality of me just showing it on Instagram.
You should be able to show anything. I mean, you're not, as long as you're not selling.
No, I'm not going to sell them. That's the thing. Like I have, here's the thing. People tell me what, you say, Andrew, I make some fantastic maps. I do. I don't know the legality of me selling. I have Themyscira. I drew Themyscira. I drew the bat cave.
Well, here's the thing. If you're not, I will say this. I'm not a lawyer, so everything I say could be total BS. But from my understanding, it's an original piece. You're not selling prints. An original piece can be sold. You're not if you're turning it into prints and selling it, that could become an issue.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like I just want to do here. Look at my stuff. Look at my stuff that I draw. Here's my where you can support me, and here you go. Like that's where I just want to do for a YouTube channel, just showing people how to create these things instead of going into the basement that is the AI revolution of just building stuff.
I would love for you to have a YouTube channel where you teach this stuff.
You were talking to me before we even in the green room. You were telling me do you have a YouTube? I'm like, you should. I was like, I build stuff like this for my person, And I'm sorry, it's very not quickly, but this is what we call just a regular dungeon, a 3D dungeon tile. I go crazy for these things, and I build them because idle hands when I get bored, and I have no sleep, and I'm the guy who's like at 3 o'clock in the morning, tiring myself out. Oh, and by the way, this is like a mausoleum, so it's like a vampire, you know.
Quick question: what are you making that out of?
Hmm?
What are you
Oh,
making this out of?
well, I actually have a couple of materials for you for that. I got like most of it's like XPS foam,
Okay.
nice blue XPS foam, and some craft foam. But most of the time, it's XPS foam. It just has the rigidity. And I like to use
And to cut that, you're using what? Just a basic knife? Or
Man,
using a heat?
I am not proficient. I am not proficient in having a hot iron, so
Yeah.
I'm going to pull this out. Just the old trusty knife.
Okay.
I'm using my culinary arts training to cut foam from just with a basic knife, so here's like the purple stuff and the pink stuff, right? So there's like a pink XPS foam, and you could just like build stuff. Maybe I haven't finished it yet. You could just start every project. You start with the columns. So these are like columns.
Okay.
And what I use for point of reference, I go on the internet. I find pictures of old ruins. Even no, it's unfortunate how much part of the world, and it's a reason why I'm really fascinated with maps, because I'll go on Google Earth all day and just look down on Google Maps, and I'm the crazy guy who wants to say, I want to draw just like Google Maps. Like, you want to draw like satellite videos and satellite images? Yes. I want my pencil to make satellite images. I'm that kind of neurotic. That's why. So that's why when one of my clients, the good people at Storm Bunny Studios, when I designed one of their maps for the Alessa map, I really took a lot of just taking shapes and lines straight out of like just months and months of observations on just how rock formations. Like, you could just look at rocks and just start painting rocks. Oh yeah, that's Storm Bunny Studios. That's a good friend. Yeah, those are my dudes. Really cool guys. They're from Wisconsin. A good friend of mine named Tim Hitchcock introduced me to his friend of his. And he was, my God, my man really opened up to a world of like just all his stuff. You could see his stuff. Let's see. One of the games, I don't have an actual book. I'm
For
looking at
which one?
One of his games he has. It's called Bloodlines of Black Magic. That's the one I play tested, and he, God,
Oh, this is nice.
he gave me such a great. Okay, he gave me such a great. He had such a great understanding of American cryptids and supernatural entities, and this is not even my artwork. This is I think this guy. His name is Gabe. I haven't met him. I never met him, but this guy is from. He is one of his contacts. Really cool guy. But yeah, but Jay, the guy. Oh, I'm sorry. The guy who controls the company, who is the lead creator and the godfather of that country, is Jay Senior. Really cool guy. Veteran. Came back. Yeah, that's my friend Jay. Came back, and from deployments. And once he left, he said, "You know what? I want to make Dungeons and Dragons games." So, he said, "I wanted to make D&D games. I wanted to make," and so he said, "You know what? I actually have an idea for myself." And he pretty much made his own games. He pretty much designed games that were around. Well, everywhere around the world, there is some like real life conflict, and then there's also real life lore in folklore. So he uses a lot of today's folklore and actual real time, real life folklore to build a seemingly fantasy world in a up to date modern setting. So you're pretty much playing we don't call them like the fighter. We don't call them we call them the guys who are like the hunters, the guys who are the seekers, the guy. So there's a lot of cool like magic users. There's also different like houses. There's also like a cool schools of magic that's pretty much like either underground or very or high society or even secret societies. Cool stuff like it's when you watch the YouTube videos and you go down that rabbit hole and down that rabbit hole of like, hey, I want to know about paranormal stuff, and you just go down into like all these cool American folklores like the cryptids, the skinwalkers. Well, because he's from Wisconsin, there's a guy called there's a cryptid called the Hodag, the ghost of Paul Bunyan's ox, who became a not so malicious spirit, more of a mischievous. I hate that word sometimes because I can't pronounce it, but yeah. Mischievous spirit that roams the backwoods of Wisconsin, and like this is a real life folklore, like the jackalopes, and you can absolutely introduce all these cool American folk tales into these games and make them real. And there's also like a real horror aspect to it because he does have some absolute like Lovecraftian mindset to it. He has and it was it was fun talking to him. It was fun working with him, and it's actually fun play test with him. And I always give a shout out to that company because they're the ones who really like him and my friend Tim Hitchcock, because Tim Hitchcock he works for Paizo, and so he was like one of my mentors. When I say mentors, I was like, I'm the stupid kid in the D&D store, and he was one of the guys who were like the older players that I really admired, and he pointed me to a direction of like, hey man, you should be creating your games to sell. And I mean, I was a punk kid at 18 who was too like I was too, how we say, too timid for my own good at 18. So I never thought I could do this for a living. If I would have known now, he went off to be successful. He's a school teacher, and then he also is a game designer. And so I met him up a few years ago during COVID. That's where I got I always say my biggest break was during COVID lockdown. I actually helped build one game and got an art director's credit in another, and then also sold a map to Jay. So I have another game from the Dungeon Masters Guild. That's where is my first official game. Before that, I helped a friend of mine who had this great love letter to 90s and manga, which is basically Boss Rush. He is coming out with a whole new set of games for Christmas. Like he's coming out with a whole new area of maps and a whole new area of like books series for that. So you could actually create your own. Well, that's kind of cool. You create your own like Android style from the 90s, like Cat's Three Eyes, Mega Man. Oh, Pat LaBar. You could play a Pat LaBar character. Like it really is like those love letters. Or you just could play a guy in a big armored suit, like like a Gundam suit, or an armor, or an Evangelion, or I'm gonna be very obscure. Like it's called Voltons, which is like it's pretty much like it's a mech with roller skates. But it was like really serious. But it was like really serious. It was like, oh no, this is more militant. This is the mech. This is the mecha manga. So he did all these like beautiful things and attached to it. And I was fortunate enough to create a map for him. My first big map. Oh man, remember you know Todd Matthey?
Yeah.
Todd Matthey has this great comic book called
Robots and Princesses.
Robots versus Princesses. Yeah, I designed his map, and it's his first edition.
Really, I got to look at that. I have a copy somewhere.
So in the back of Robots versus and
Princesses.
in Prince. No. I actually did Princess World and Robot World, and so it was just like these two kingdoms that shouldn't be. It's like I did like My Little Pony, and then all of a sudden Transformers. It's just like it was like at the time. I mean, if I could, I would have. If I could, I didn't have the color. I was gonna play with the color segments. I was like, hey, can I put like old '80s gem versus versus the Transformer, because that's kind of my generation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so wherever how I did this is because I was very fortunate. I was the I'm not gonna credit anybody saying that, oh, because I worked my way and pulled up my bullshit. No, that's bullshit to me. That I was fortunate to have good people who saw the potential, saw my work. And designing maps, it really is kind of like points of references. Look at an old map. I love the fact there's a lot of people right now who are into like, I want to play D&D, but I don't want to play either a Viking saga. I don't want to play European style. I want to play more of a Japanese style. Okay, so go and look at the maps. Look at locations that are locations that are pretty cool. If you go through Asia, a lot of my new client I have right now, I'm designing a map for his like an isekai, and isekai is basically you're basically a person who works for a living who then now is sucked into a fantasy world, but you're still like an office manager from a, it's kind of a weird marriage, but there's this whole TRPG game that he wants to design. So he was like, okay, so a guy from Japan gets sucked into a world, and he is now in a fantasy setting. And he goes, yeah, but I really didn't want to do European, so I suggested, you know what? How about more Southern European? How about we add a little bit of like Sardinia? How we added a little bit more Rus and Russia. So like where you can actually maybe even add a little bit more like Cro-Magnon areas where we were actually doing more Frazetta style. So I was trying to sell him the Frazetta style. So maybe it's more barbarian so when you're designing those type of stories, I have a friend of mine who unfortunately he sold his he sold his idea to another friend of his, and it just got to a point where I never got the able to but I was designing a map for him that was pretty much northern Africa and parts of I took a lot of pictures of Benimi Kingdom, which is, I believe, is Nigeria and like Nigeria and that whole area of like. What I love about it was Timbuktu. So I got to look at pictures of Timbuktu. I got to look at pictures of like of the old. Then I got to get pictures of Sudan with the not the regular pyramids, but the pyramids that look like obelisk. And I was like, okay, I'm on board. And I designed a bunch of cool maps for him. And then I gave it to him. He goes, man, the project went this way. I was. So I would have been like able to like 5 years ago. I would have been able to be like, hey, yeah, man, I got this like kind of like cool on the roads of like kind of like the Ivory Coast Road, and you could travel through the sands of the Sahara. I really wanted to do that kind of story, Howard Carter kind of thing, or So I really wanted to design that map because there's so many cool stories that we don't, and there's a lot of cool animes and mangas and comic books that don't do you ever heard of Doc Savage?
Of course.
All right, so
sorry, it's just I'm a big fan of the pulp stuff. The pulp stuff's
right. But Doc Savage is not around anymore. Have you noticed there's no Doc Savage style characters? Not even Doc Savage's adventures. So it was like a really thank you. That was what I was trying to get to. It was going to be like a pulp feel game, like a really cool pulp adventure game, which I don't see anymore. I really don't. I really don't see like characters doing that, and it just again, maybe because for some reason that map, it's already done. I'm gonna post in a few weeks. Say, hey guys, sorry, but this is something I was going to do, and now I'm able to talk about it. Here's what the map was supposed to that could have been to maybe generate some more interest out there, which is kind of interesting.
Hold on, I'm going to show you a piece of art I did. Speaking of Doc Savage, but what really this is up on my website. But what really is what I like about this is how you were talking about texture earlier in the show. These are textures a friend of mine owns that he made himself, and he sent them to me. So I have about 3 different textures over this image here that really I think helps, kind of bring it to life.
I love texturing, and I think there's not enough comic book artists who absolutely go. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, but there's a lot of art that's out right now it's very highly simplified. And I can see that because I've been reading more. I've been reading a lot of more manga, so there's a lot of black and white. So I've been there's a lot less comics that have been colored in that genre. You get maybe 1 page of a colored image, and then the rest of the black and white comic. Even though I would have been, even though people thought I was mad, I said, it would have been interesting if somebody did a version of the Walking Dead comic that was completely colored. Now I'm not sure if they did it recent, but I know when I started picking up, I love the black and white. And I love the fact that if I had the opportunity to do that, I would have been like, well, here's Atlanta. Here's the map of Atlanta. Here's their journey. And for the life of me, I don't know why people never said, okay, let's make a map of. And even when I'm finding it, and I'm probably going to put it out there because maybe I put it out there. If there's a popular modern comic book that became a series that doesn't have a map, it's ridiculous. Because even The Last of Us, I love The Last of Us. It's also post-apocalyptic.
I never finished the show, but I know.
That's fine, but in the video game, you see a map.
Yeah, no,
you know exactly where you're going. And the cool thing is, it may not play well in comics that there is no map, but when you want to go into the video game medium or the gaming medium, you're going to have them. You're going to have that map. You're going to have to give a destination for your players to go. Even in Dungeons & Dragons, from Dungeons & Dragons and from any other RPG games that are out there, even the tabletops, even the ones that, even from Warhammer, that utilize a lot of the 3D dimensional buildings that you play, it's still a mapping, and there's still a mapping. How do you say? There's still like a mapping element to storytelling.
Look, I mean, I will say I think maps are very important. Obviously, I come from a bit of a D&D background. And I think we talked about this the other day when we were on the phone. Before I got into D&D, I was playing video games, and the games I played were the Sierra games: King's Quest, Space Quest, Police Quest, even Quest for Glory. And I know, they made others that didn't have Quest in the title, but I was into that. But Quest of Glory actually had a character sheet in it. And that is the first time I saw a character sheet, not realizing, because at the time when I played, it was the early 90s or whatever, because I didn't play D&D till college for the first time. The creators were big D&D fans. So they were regular D&D players, whatever. So it basically was like a video game D&D version And then when I got into college and my friend said, "Hey, do you want to play D&D?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And then I got a character sheet. I'm like, "Oh, this is like Quest for Glory," you know. So that's that game actually really introduced me to kind of how D&D
Right.
was played. And then when I got into the actual game of D&D, which we didn't play a lot because we were in college and we preferred to find women than than play games, and
We all have a gap year.
yeah. So anyway, like we'd play, but I like really got into D&D over the video games. And my first job in the industry, I was in my first semester at college, so I was 18 when I got the job, but I was working as like an intern, so I wasn't getting paid. But when I turned 15, I started getting paid, and I was working as a character designer for educational, children's educational video games, basically. Nothing that anyone would know. I don't even remember the titles of them. I didn't have a good experience at that job, but it taught me a lot of how to deal with people in the industry. And I liked the behind the scenes, the creating the games rather than playing. So, by the time the mid 90s, because I went to college in 94, I started getting paid in 95. Well, right before I turned 19. So probably my birthday's in February. So like end of January, I started getting paid probably for the job.
Right.
But I ended up loving the behind the scenes so much that I kind of stopped playing that. When I started playing D&D with my friends, which was about a year or so later, I really enjoyed the imagination aspect of it so much, and was thrilled. Like I didn't have visuals. I might know what a monster looked like because of a picture in a book or whatever, but everything was
theater of the mind.
Yeah, I love that aspect of the game, and I would, and I'm playing a game right now with a few friends basically every other Saturday night. We play for about 2 hours, and we have a fun time. It's a great time, but we're doing it all old school. We're doing it over, the computer here, and the whole thing is theater of the mind. There's nothing in there, no little minis. The only thing we do, maybe we grab our die and we we roll for whatever we have to roll for, and it's just like old school gaming. Instead of a notebook, I take notes on my computer. I copy and paste information the guy sends us and my DM sends us and stuff. So just put my dice back where I keep it.
What I find like fascinating when people are like, oh yeah, a lot of writers, when it comes to writing, and now that I am absolutely writing my own, adventures. I'm absolutely writing my own stories. I'm also working on my own book series of that, my own campaign setting. Now, let's say you're not really gifted in drawing, but you can still create a map just by writing a hero's journey in a way. Like, you're in character development. You want to know where your character, from A to B, where your character is going to be. You could literally write, hero goes to this area. You just put a dash. That's his destination. You could just write it out. Destination. What's the name of the destination? Type it out or write it out. What's the surrounding area like? And that is like your own kind of kind of your memory palace version of just creating your own hero journey.
Yeah.
And so like even using outlines is in a way a mapping element. And I mean, I'm not saying like don't buy my maps, or hire somebody to draw you a map, because why not?
And if you have to hire someone, it has to be Andrew.
Commissions are always open.
Yes.
But there's a lot of writers who really have trouble where their characters and where their protagonists and even their antagonists, where they intersect and where they meet. And sometimes you could just I'm not going to say Always Sunny in Philadelphia, famous meme of Charlie Day with the red lines, and like the whole board with like red lines and like red thread going to like different points on a wall. But we do have a process. You could do that with post notes, and you can actually map out the hero journey. I want him here. How is he going to interact? Here's a post-it note here. Here's my hero. Here's the main anti-hero. Here's all the cast and support cast. Where are they interacting? And you can really build yourself a story. And the cool thing, I use maps because I draw maps, but
Yeah.
you can use a lot of mapping elements to create a bona fide character developed story story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fortunately for my madness, I draw the map first before or draw the area first with the character next to it to see how his environment created this character.
Yeah.
Weird way of doing things, but that's the way I do things.
It's not that weird. Like I will say, I've DM'd a few times in my career, but if you can call my gaming a career, but I've been to DM a few times, and I've also though I've written a lot of comics, and I don't map to your level. I don't have the attention for detail that you have.
Can.
But,
you can. You can. Come on.
But I always map. But when I started DMing, it was a few years back and whatever. But I took my mapping from the way I handle comic books, like the way I handle making. So like if I'm in a room, I'll always draw an aerial kind of view and be like, okay, there's a table here, a chair here, a couch here, a lamp here, the windows here. So like I'd mark locations so that when I draw, I know my perspective, I know the angles, things like I have that in my head in maps, and that's how I attack, like creating campaigns for games. So like what I'll do is I'll be like, okay, like one of the games I did for a bunch of kids was based in basically I wanted to put them in the world of Castlevania. I thought that would be fun. So what I ended up doing was creating this small little town, and then there was, instead of the castle, there was the Belmont Manor, and it was on a farm.
Right.
So so I just changed the location a bit. So now that I'm like, oh, on the farm, if they have to pass the farm, well, they can encounter scarecrows. And I'm like, okay, what animals can I put on farms that would be harmful to them? And then when they're in the manor, what kind of rooms would they explore? And I'm like, okay, one of them could be a library. And then what I ended up doing was obviously mapping out the library, and I mapped out the land. I mapped out everything. Like, this is where the scarecrows would come from. When they're in the manor in this room, this is where werewolves would come from. The whole thing. And like, I just remember though, the library was the most important room for me, because then I could play with books and book titles as puzzles for them to figure things out. And then that became a running theme, where it's like, if they found a book in the room, they should look at that book, because there might be a clue to something that can defeat the beast, something that can help them escape. Something would happen because of that book.
And it's funny that Castlevania in the games, like I remember being like very vivid. I always thought it was but as you look back, and it was kind of like the 8-bit, 16-bit era.
Yeah.
You look at the map, it's just empty squares.
Mm-hmm.
You yourself painted the picture of what's in those empty squares. And I'm just saying like that. Like, I played Castlevania all the way up to like Symphony of the Night, and then got reintroduced to like the newer ones, and the new ones don't have the same, the nostalgia that I had from when I was playing as a kid. And even when I was watching the manga, another manga, the anime, my bad. I get that mixed up. Yeah. Sometimes sometimes I realized and I was like, you know what? This is this Castlevania is the interior is very highly detailed, but I remember seeing more detail in these squares that was just an outline of the castle and just going from one square to another. And that's all it was. Like the basic map, because you didn't have enough like I said, you didn't have enough graphics to actually. So a lot of the early maps in video games really were like empty squares. Even the text games I used to play with Zork. Zork was one of my favorite text games. And I remember playing one. The second one was like the Return of Fizbin. All it is you going into a house collecting different items, and you're really just stuck with like a picture of just like squares, but you have to write it out. So I love when you have when I talk to kids about, oh, you guys are lucky when it comes to video games. We used to just have to write things and use our imagination. We used to have to write things in a notebook. I remember walking around like, oh, I need to beat this game. I need to find a secret level, and you would have to go into like my favorite, one of the favorite horror titles of all was like the Resident Evil series. Their mansion looks beautiful, but their overall map was just empty squares and no descriptions. It was just like an empty square. There's nothing that's the room. That's the gun room. It just says gun room on the map. And so I would literally go into these like game forums that had like walkthroughs, and the vivid writings. You just have to explain one room. So I love the fact that how much has come along, because right now in gaming we have this term called open world, sandbox, and all these beautiful terms where you're literally put into a 3-dimensional environment, which I wished, if I get any kind of grant or loan, or I would go back to school for game design just so I can create my own open world. Because I think that even though I'm in my 40s, I will go back to school for like another few years just so I can learn that. Because I know this is what's going to happen. I finally finished school learning a traditional environment on art and how to learn traditionally, and digital became big red. Then when digital got a little bit more like everyone else is doing digital, people are like, hey, what's the traditional guys doing? We need to find them. And when you look at the traditional guys, they've also went to digital. So and I don't want to I don't want to miss out me designing better games, because I think I could take this and do this in a computer. I know I can.
Yeah, I will say I've worked in 3D. I haven't done 3D honestly since about 2001 or 2. Yeah, I hate 3D in the sense of building it. I love looking at it.
But it got so much better. I don't know if it got easier though.
Yeah, I look at some 3D stuff every now and then, and I'll open up like a YouTube video on how to use Blender, and I
love those videos.
And I'm like, I don't have the brain power for it anymore. I'm one of my specialties, in with, especially when I taught. I mean, it used to get me jobs as an artist pretty quick, but I could go through the entire Adobe suite, and know the difference between being in Photoshop or After Effects or Illustrator, whatever it was. I can go through it and boom, boom, boom. I knew all the commands. I didn't get confused or anything. Now I'm looking, and I also knew 3D Max at the time. I studied a little bit of Maya, and I studied
Autodesk and platforms.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So and I'm just like, my mind for 3D just wasn't there, and but I sculpted at the time too, and a lot of 3D art, best 3D artists I know are sculptors, and because they really, you can understand how it would feel. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, it's a very for me it's tiresome. I
Yeah,
am not saying it can't be done, but like I look and I want to learn Blender because I think it could speed up my workflow once I understand it better. But I kind of zone out now watching those things, and um, it can be I mean, but that's me. For anyone else, it can be a great thing.
I want to give like a quick shout out
Yeah.
to Shadow Rabbit, because
Okay.
Shadow Rabbit Luis, if you guys don't
Yeah.
follow him at Shadow Rabbit,
Is it Shadow Rabbit or Shadow Clay Rabbit? I don't
Shadow
remember.
Clay Rabbit or something
Shadow.
like
Yeah.
that. I call him Shadow Clay Rabbit.
I'll look him up
Uh,
on
but
Instagram.
Luis, he is the one who pretty much I went, and he was the one who like reignited me to create my own minis. So that's why like right now I'm creating minis like this. These are a lot more detailed than I were before. This is like 5 years of me just sculpting trial and error, and these are just me sculpting trial and error, and like he's a guy with a gun, a lady with like a backpack and stuff like. But what I remember him talking to, like the last thing I remember him saying to me was, you know what, I would love to learn how to do that in Blender. I think it was the first time I ever heard of Blender.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what's Blender? And he goes, oh, it's a program where you can make your stuff three-dimensional digitally. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
you mean you can make them digitally? Like I always thought, well, no, I'm the old school guy. I'm the one that you craft this,
Mm-hmm.
you put it in a mold, and then they pour pewter into it, or or hot plastic, and you get a
Yeah.
pewter or plastic mold, and you crunk hundreds of them, and you sell it individually in
Oh
packages
no,
like
no.
this, like
Now you
this.
sell the what is it, SVG file, and you can sell that people 3D printed.
Right.
I
So
just
like,
saw. Go ahead. But I just saw a
so
comment I want to get
so
to.
when I was talking to him, I was like, I spent a lot of money on these things, and wait, they're all digitally. I like most of them right now. Most of them are digitally made. However, I follow a company called Reaper Bones, and
Yeah,
they this. I love their minis. I mean, I'm giving them free publicity, but I don't think I need to, because they're
no,
they're
they're
just
one
like
of the most popular, I think, right
they're
now.
one of the most popular, because one of the best thing about that company is like, well, this guy hand sculpted this, not digitalized. This is a hand sculpted model. So this guy hand sculpted this and then made it into a mold and sold it through. Oh, and also big made in the USA. That's also a cool thing
Yeah.
too. So it's like most of these guys are like, oh yeah, you got you got these guys and you got these other guys, and you're like, and I love the reason why I keep buying Reaper molds is because you have a name of the artist who created this.
Oh,
And it's
really
always
cool.
there's always some guy who's like 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus, always in the industry. His kid's probably handling his online because he doesn't really get it.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that Luis opened my eyes. Like, well, you can always make that in Blender. And I was like, what the heck is Blender? So like, and right now it's like, it opened my mind, because it's also a free program. So that's another thing. Like, wait, it's
Yeah.
also free. Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
download, and you're just playing around with it, and it kind of does feel like the whole industry is heading there. Because you're a sculptor, I'm okay sculptor, but when I say okay, it's like I still feel like a very, like, compared to like Dominic Sperano, who's been sculpting
It's
since like
fantastic.
forever, fantastic potter, a fantastic sculptor, and Dom's like one of my top people. I say, hey man, that dude would never steer you wrong. I
Yeah.
mean, because he won't steer you wrong, because he's like telling you, no. This is how much BS you're gonna get. And he literally is like him and Matt and Mark. Him and Mark would be like, this is how much BS you're gonna go through. So like, I love dudes who do that, because they're just like, they're just trying to tell you, man, if you want to do it, this is the road. Like, so I love when they do that. But Dom has like beautiful artwork. And I can't see someone saying, "Oh well, I could make that on a computer." So the fuck what? Excuse my language. So what? There's a skill, and so like there's a gaming element, and it's also a cool gaming community that are really conscious of artists who can do this, who actually could draw maps, who could actually create, games, who could actually. And I know for a fact you tell me educational games, and pretty much every game I've ever played has a math element, and it's a
No, but I mean, when I talk educational, it was like this is going to be a history game, so it was
dude. Everyone loved Mario's Missing.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was like the best history. It's the best Nintendo history game ever made.
Yeah.
And it sold so many. It's still like hard to find. Like it's one of the best. I mean, it became one of the best rare games to actually for street cred, for a gamer street cred. I have Missing Mario's Missing. And it was and it was It was a really cool, well thought out, highly popular, still selling educational game.
It's listen, it's a very interesting industry. And I don't know if it was because my first introduction into the professional world, but I actually miss making that type of stuff. That I've had ideas in my head, but I don't do the programming. I'm even though I have my art background, I'm very much an idea guy. Where I can, and I'm a storyteller. I will say the one thing even better than my art is my story creation. My art, I will always say I'm good for what I do. There's tons of artists out there better than me. There's tons of artists out there worse than me.
That's natural.
For what I do, I think I provide, quality work. I mean, and I hope so because people have paid me for it, so others would think I will too. But
it's a level. You're giving them a level of professionalism and a level of your skill that they want.
Yeah,
and also a reliable. Because that's another thing. Like we don't even talk about, like a reliable, skilled artist who will absolutely make deadlines. And I mean that's like the holy grail of like what every company wants,
exactly.
What every client wants,
Exactly. But I was literally sitting here the other day in this chair in the studio here, thinking about classic games like I mentioned earlier, like King's Quest. This is actually its 40th anniversary. It's 40 years this year. And actually, I don't remember if it was in May. It might have been in April. Was the official release. So it's just like at the 40-year anniversary now. And I was thinking about how I love the puzzles, how I love that type of adventure game. And then I was thinking about the games I was making. And I'm like, God, I would love to make a game like that again. Even if it's something I give away online for free.
And it's fascinating. No, dude, here's the thing. It's so fascinating because you could go to any of these new game forums. You could go to like the Steam. Mm-hmm. You could go into the Steam locker, the Steam site, and go to all the different games that are out there. There are still people creating 16, 18-bit, even educational indie games. And there's a cool market for indie games where, you know what? You're always going to have that pipsqueak who's going to buy the next great Call of whatever honor shoot 'em up game. You're going to have someone's going to do that. And here's the thing: I'm one of them. I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to play this version of it because this guy's from the Spy from the '70s, and I'm going to be like a James Bond style espionage clandestine character. Right. It's always a cool shooter game. You're like pointing, clicking, shooting. And then at the end, and of course, zombies. Who doesn't like killing a bunch of hordes and hordes of zombies? But then there's another market where you have a great game where you're just diving into the ocean. You're just taking pictures of the environment. Subnautica is one of those very rare games where you're really not killing anything. You're really respecting nature. And in a way, it's telling you about eco. It's a lot of like hidden, the nuanced subtexts, like just to not be too abuses of that nature, but you get to like really explore another world, another planet with all this marine life. And of course, the second game, of course, they're gonna give you a gun now. You can shoot things. But the first one, there was a there was an element to it where it's like you're more of a history, more of a documentary animal. Like you're on your own little national of Omaha,
Yeah.
kind of character. You're pretty much going there and taking pictures. You could also be like, well, I'm going to swim over there and I'm going to wrestle that giant Leviathan character, and then come back unscathed. You could be your own Irwin. Your own. Uh, you know what I'm saying? You could be like you could do that. You could be your own Irving guy, and Irving. Not the because. But you could be a character like it. You have like games that do that. You have games that are like my favorite games were Mist, Ribbon, where it was basically you took a picture, you're solving problems. You actually to go into a notebook and write the problems down. You have to solve math problems. You have to solve riddles. You have to solve different picture problems and key problems. And so, like, there is still a market out there for those games because they're still selling. They're still the big indie market. I don't think you could have a convention like PAX and just fill it up with just here's a new thing, all nothing but popular games. I don't think you could fill up to me. I don't think you could ever fill up a C2E2 stage that you cannot fill up all these gaming booths with just the same guy, or the same companies that produce the same game. There are a lot of indies out there that are just far superior games. They just never had the budget. Like right now, I've always been playing a game called like No Man's Sky, which is pretty much a builder game. That's and I like the mapping software there because there are other games that emulated that game that absolutely gave you a hard sci-fi element where you actually have to, like, you actually could build your own crafts and build your own environments. Like 3 games that do this that the name escapes me, but it is like Minecraft, but space, but hard space voxels, and you can build look, I created my own voxels even because I'm crazy like that. Like, this is a wood voxel, this is the skull voxel, brick voxel, stuff like that. This is like, safe voxels because you can do that. But in game they give you all these little voxels, and you can create giant spaceships that actually breaks. So like you can really like, and again, it's where I wanted, like this. I think my destination has to be from, because I think that's everyone wants to graduate from what they started. So I actually want to graduate my artwork into digital age. So it's like even with gaming art, even when people are complaining that, oh well, there's a lot of AI influences now, and it's okay if people are going to start making AI art. I get it. You guys you want the, what's it called? They don't care about the process. They want the end result.
Yeah.
There's always going to be people who want that, and I have to like accept that. Yeah, sure, I get that. Whatever, I'm not bitter about it, but I understand. But there's going to be an element where you still have to create something. You still have to like, okay, AI, can you fix that? What you just messed up? No.
Listen, AI. Oh God, there's so much I can talk about.
I know, but I'm not going down that. But the thing is, I will not go down that rabbit hole. But I'm telling you right now, though, I still love the indie scene, the game scenes, because they're building. You're saying that I want to do this, and to me, I am the ultimate. You can do it, guy. I'm the Yeah, you still got time, but
Oh, it's just finding the time. That's
finding
the
the
issue.
time is that's the big problem. Like finding time, and you're sacrificing your health and sleep. That's the core reason why a lot of us in this industry get sick very early, and because we're either very anxiety ridden, the high anxiety level. Even creating my maps, I will get them back, and they're like, okay, I need this to be another pearlescent blue. I need this color. I need this type of font, not that type of font. I need you to replace all the fonts and rewrite them over. Now, you could do fine. Oh, okay. But you're rewriting like 20, 30, 40, 50 points of interest in in a map with like names to a different font, individual. Not, and it's not like you're gonna, if you're using either Illustrator, or you're using Photoshop, or you're using any of these other programs that allows you to use a text, you get an individual text. You have to change every single text. you know, so like so. I love it. That's not even a complaint. I love doing it. Sure, because I want to see it cool. I want to see how it looks like. Yeah, but to me, I think I think I need the time, because at the end, I don't think I'm gonna have enough time. So like I said, so right now I'm not pushing anything off. So like right now I'm designing my game. I'm not pushing any time, and that's I have so much ideas, I don't have enough time.
Yeah,
So I was like, but yeah, I mean, I don't want to push off any more of my time that I've already pushed off because of life. So yeah, it's weird. I'm right now. I'm designing my game, and it's based on a game I played 22 years ago. And every time I talk to a friend of mine, they're like, "Hey man, remember that game?" So if it's a memorable game, do it. Oh my god, it's already an hour and 20 minutes. Okay.
yeah, no problem. We're
Okay.
just not doing 4 hours again. That's all. And
No, I'm not doing 4 hours. No. We
but
did 4 hours?
we did 3 hours and like 40 minutes, 45
Right. That's
minutes
just me
last
over
time.
talking.
Yeah, it's okay. I want to go to a couple of comments first.
Yeah.
It's hi, you're stupid. Does Andrew ever go by A-Rod? Just because of your name.
I'm going to tell you right now, when I started working in comics, people called me Frank, because my last name is Rodriguez and my first name is Andrew, but everybody remembered the F for Frank.
Yeah.
So everyone knew me as Frank for a long time, and I didn't tell them about that. And then one day goes, "Hey Frank, how you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm doing fine." And I was at a drinking draw, and I've known these guys for years for drinking draw, and they goes, "Wait a minute, your first name is Andrew?" I goes, "Yeah." Because a mutual friend, Kennedy, told, "Hey, Andrew, how you doing?" "Oh, I'm doing fine, Kennedy." Kennedy Green, really good artist.
It's
Oh my
freaking
God.
amazing. He's one of those guys, two-handed, draws like from one side of the page and meets in the middle.
Cartoonist extraordinaire. Yeah, cartoonist. Cartoons or caricature.
He could do
Cartoonist and characters. Yeah,
Yeah.
extraordinaire. Two hand, everything. And so he said, "Hey, Andrew, how you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm doing fine." And they're like, "Wait, your name is Andrew?" So for years, people could call me A-Rod. Just don't call me anything that's like derogatory. But yeah, I go by A-Rod. A couple of friends of mine call me Drew.
Yeah.
I like Drew because also a profession, and it's my profession, and it's also my name. And it seems like it's poetic somehow that my name is also my namesake and also my job.
And the
I'm my own little main character.
and the other thing, and this goes back to when we were talking about video games. Hi, you're stupid, which I believe is Dave Sullivan from Sillyville saying I had Intellivision, and I gotta say I didn't have Intellivision. My uncle had it, and I loved playing Rampage on the Intellivision. But
I think I had Moonmaker, or Moonraker, or something. It was like a tank that jumped over, like, I think I had.
Oh, I know the game you're talking about. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's my brother had that. Yeah.
I mean, I had the Atari when, like, what is it, 2600 came out, then Intellivision was like out around that time. ColecoVision came out. Everybody I knew had something different.
Yeah.
And then I got the PC Junior, in '84, the IBM PC Junior, which King's Quest was actually made for. It was to help sell the PC Junior. So I was, and then in '86 I got my Nintendo, and then I want to say it was it in '90, maybe I got my Genesis, or was that a little later? I don't remember.
No, I think it's about like almost 90s. I think.
Yeah, and then I didn't have any other systems until like GameCube, PlayStation 2. I had another system too, and when I met my wife, she loved to play games, but she didn't have a TV in her room. So I gave her an old monitor of mine and said, "Hey, I'm not playing games." And I gave her my PS2, my GameCube, and whatever else, what other system I had. And I said, "Here are all my games," and I just let her play, which may have been a mistake because I was she was late for a lot of dates, but it was she loved it. But what was always funny and what I love about it is my ex bought me all the systems and like almost all the games I had. So it was like she spent all the money and and then when we ended things, I got to take all my systems, not all my games. She hid some of my games when I moved out. And then when I met my wife, I'm like, I haven't touched any of these for a while. It's all yours. Play.
Yeah.
So
like I said, I have many older brothers. I have to count them.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't know.
I have to count them. There's 7 of us. Okay, so there's 7 of us. Not from the same lady. They're my older brothers from another but my mom. One day, my older brother came from work and he goes, "Oh yeah, you two hold this down." And my mom, who was, "I don't want video games in my house."
Yeah.
My mom wanted only books.
Okay.
She's like, "Well, how do you get into all this D&D stuff?" "Mom, you're the one who gave me Lord of the Rings when I was 10.
Yeah.
Then you followed up with Narnia. And then you followed up with like the Black Cauldron Perdines. You're the one who bought me the Flight of Dragons book. You're the one who bought me those books.
Yeah.
Right? You wanted me to read books. You got me all these fantasy novels and all these sci-fi novels, and you wonder why I like D&D. But she was adamant, no video games. And my brother was like, "Hold this down." He places down, like my mom bought me the Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
And I had the Nintendo when everything else was coming out. I had the Nintendo. I was the one guy. Like my brothers who already moved out, they had all the freaking systems, they had all the freaking games. They were all and they had everything. So when I go to their house, I'm gonna play whatever they have. So my brother was like, "Here, hold this down," and it was the first PlayStation where it was like CDs, and he had like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be going to work, and I won't be around for a few months. Play them."
Yeah.
And I just started like high school. Their grades are gonna get lower, blah blah. And me and my brother was like, "Screw it."
I got a funny story about lower grades. In 1986, when I got my Nintendo, I believe, because I was in junior high.
Yeah.
And my parents said, "If you make the honor roll, we'll get you a Nintendo for Christmas." I said, "Okay." When that quarter or whatever ended, I made the high honor roll, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm getting Nintendo for Christmas. How awesome is that?" Well, Christmas break comes, and I get my Nintendo and I hook it up and I play all over, Christmas break. I get back to school and never made the honor roll again. That was how it worked for me.
Now, my brother had the best thing about that's the best thing. My brother was like, he was like, "Here, hold this down," and it's like. Your parents like, "Oh, I hope you raised up your grades." Dude, I just know for a fact that I missed this report. I missed the report once, and I forgot that I had to do a couple of homeworks. I went from like an A to a C, and that thing was now punishment material. We take the game box, put it in the high cabinet, don't touch it, or I'll kick your butt. You know.
Yeah.
So, but it's the love. Like, but that's the kind of nostalgia. I'm not sure if kids have the same nostalgia for video games that like for our generation, because we're like that Gen X generation. I think we're all Gen X, right?
I
We're
am
Gen X.
definitely
Yeah,
based on the year I was
and
born.
I'm like that last year of Gen X. People tell me I'm the last year of Gen X. They're always fighting if it's 80, 81. I'm like, I'm that last year. So I'm in the 80s. So it's like, yeah, that's the last year of the Gen X, and then 81 goes this, or 80. They like now they're playing Gen X at like 85. But
Whatever,
anyway,
yeah.
I don't care what it. But our generation has so much nostalgia. I don't think next generation has nostalgia as we do. I don't think it's as prevalent. So when you're designing video games, when you're designing maps, I think your best bet is to hit those like memorable moments and try to get people to like right now. That's why I have the 8-bit map. I'm going to be selling that soon. Those are the things that you need to like. Those are the reason why like I got into gaming, because in gaming maps and gaming assets and drawing and even playing, because of the nostalgia. You need to create that from newer players. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Even though it's out of a tangent thought, but I love the fact that we could just share this. Like, well, this is what happened to me, and this is what happened to you.
Yeah.
I still remember to this day, like people ask you, like, what inspired you? It's those moments. It's those moments that you didn't even think about. Like, like right now, it's like I didn't think about that. I didn't think about it for 30 years, but it profoundly. I still remember all the games I played, and all of them were kind of like RPG based. They were pretty much like a JRPG. A lot of them were.
Yeah.
And I remember playing a bunch of, when that Final Fantasy VII came out. Pooh, I know I beat the hell out of that game. So like yeah.
I want to get to another comment that you'll probably be able to answer better than me, because you know the systems and stuff a little better. But Joel J. Barker, wow, man, I haven't heard that name in a while. What system had the Clay Fighters game?
Wow, which Clay Fighters?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I know had a Basic Instinct that was kind of like a Clay Fighters for Super Nintendo. I think it's Super Nintendo. I also know they had it. Clay Fighters was also a PC game, but I never, like I said, I've never really played it. I haven't played it. No.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. By the way, thanks for the question, and who's that? From Joel J. Barker.
Okay.
I looked it up because I had to. I didn't remember this game. It was originally released in '93 for the Super Nintendo, and then later ported to the Genesis in '94.
Right, okay.
But I remember. So let me just share the screen. So in case.
Dude, there were some games that never even got to my area, because I was like, go to Blockbuster, and I could never play them because it's just like I literally was the broke kid who got the one system and had to rely on hand-me-down games.
So this was the cover of Clay Fighter right here.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that cart.
Yeah.
I remember the box art. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And speaking of box art, I've been meaning to do this for the last few days. But I have that book in my closet. It's in a box in my closet. I got to go through it. And I believe
Nintendo Power.
No, oh God, yeah, no. It's the cover art from the Atari series.
Yeah.
Do you remember it was just how the Atari had, I think it might have just, I don't know if it was just like Activision art, if it was just Atari art, but the box art to Atari stuff, those boxes made you want to play such poorly pixelated games out there. I loved it. There was a game I used to play called Outlaw, and the cover art, it's this whole crazy Western. And then when you get to play the game, it's just these two like boxy pixelated characters that shoot little white pixels out of their guns. And oh my god, I
They're like,
love
draw,
that
shoot,
game.
BB, right? It's like,
But
draw.
it's
like,
yeah, it was
draw.
like
It didn't even sound like draw.
Yeah, it was weird cactuses on there, and I mean, as a kid, even though you know it's cheap, you just love it. First of all, I love westerns, but really the sound was meh. That was like the sound of the gun fighting, and then it would ricochet. It could ricochet off a wall if you played the right game. I think it was actually called Ricochet, that level, and you hear bong, 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 and until it hit something or it disappeared after like 3 or 4 ricochets, you know, and it was like that was such a great game to me. What does he say here?
That's what I like about the text boxes for Zork. Yes. It was very highly artistic, but it was just a text game.
Yeah.
He didn't even give you pictures. What was the other comment?
Oh no, he just wanted to say
I remember it. I remember playing Basic Instinct because that was also for Super NES. Mm-hmm. And I think the reason why I bought Basic Instinct instead of Clay Fighters is because I like the cover art.
It sold you, man.
Yeah, it sold me. And also, I think the other reason why I was sold with a lot of JRPG games, like a lot of Japanese RPG games, especially from Square Software, which was now Square Enix. They had some really cool box art, but the games paid off. You know, like the gameplay paid off. Like Chrono Trigger. There was another company called Secret of Mana. That box art was beautiful. I actually bought the art book for that in some of these games. They're just beautiful artwork.
I wish there were more art books out there on certain types of games. Like, it's very hard to find. Like, I have
pretty much all the games always get one.
I have the official art. What is this? The Super Mario Brothers Encyclopedia, the official guide to the first 30 years, 1985, 2015. I have Mega Man, the official complete works here. This is right in front of me. I know I have the Art of Blizzard.
I have the Art of Blizzard, yeah.
That's a great book. I have to look around. Like I said, I have that Atari art cover book.
I have the Art of World of Warcraft. I have the Art of EverQuest. These are like the first.
I like that art book. I don't have.
Yeah, these are like the first MMOs that were like really crazy. I have the art book because my brother bought it and he still has it now. But for a while I had it in my shelf. It was a game back in the day called the Ultima series. So it was like a book of all the Ultima games. That was another. Of course, by today's game standards, it would have been canceled like crazy. But it had some interesting, very nerdy, cultural games, and it was one of these like really cool. Like I'm not sure if it's an MMO, but it was more of an online game. It was a really cool Ultima Online.
Yeah,
great. Yeah, but I have the art book. I don't really necessarily have many. Unfortunately, I don't have. I only some of them just have PDF files that I've gone through the years because people just gave me a hard disk of stuff to like look at. But there's a lot of cool books that I have. Like I even have. I'm looking right now. I'm looking at the Art of Star Wars, and I'm talking about the first Art of Star Wars, and I'm looking at the Kirby book and stuff like that. But when it comes to like video games, I have Resident Evil. The Art of Resident Evil or Biohazard. It's the Art of Biohazard for those purists who like, no, it's Biohazard. Like, you're out there, guys. I don't need to call you out. And guess what? I'm part of that community too. It's not that. It's this. I wasn't I was gatekeeping before. Now I'm an old man. I don't need to gatekeep shit. So anyway, but yeah, it's cool to have these collections. So
Yeah.
anyone else having any more comments?
Actually, Joel asked, was it robot-like characters? I don't remember what we were talking about that he could have asked that. That was asked.
If he was talking about my book, the book I designed, Boss Rush, uh, 2001 XX, Nations of the Mechanations. Uh, Funny thing is, you could create a human, but why would you? So you could create a cyber. I mean, you could create a human
Yeah.
with a lot of cool gadgetry. That's the option. But man, I built myself a robot. It was straight out of like Mega Man. There was a guy, Gutsman. I made a nice version of Gutsman.
Okay.
My character was called like Heavy D because he was Demolition Bot.
Yeah, yeah.
But also he's got. But here's the thing, like yeah, you could play robots, you could play cyborgs, you could play androids, you could play. There's this anime called Most Dangerous Guys, so you could play an humanoid android bio person who drives in a Big Mac. You can create whatever you want in that game, but it has to be. The thing is, it has to be really. You have to really want to run it because it's one of those games where you really have to be nostalgic. Oh, is that my Instagram?
I wanted to make sure I show your Instagram because I wanted to show your artwork. We haven't had a chance to show
Sure.
it.
Yeah, that was Andrew Frank Rodriguez art on Instagram. That's like a black. That's like an entire black hole kind of thing. I wanted to create heavily inspired by the game called Chrono Trigger. I wanted to create a moment of an end time. So you see all these like collapsed civilizations going into this black hole, but kind of not into that black hole. So yeah, that was my massive piece during COVID. That's the one I worked on. Like I put it off for a few months, and then when unfortunately the whole world had time on their hands, I created that. Yeah. You could continue like.
I'm gonna go through a few things right here.
Yeah, that's like all the little houses I made. Those are like all the minis I've crafted so far. I already have like maybe 40 of them.
I want to say I do want to build, and I might just reach out to you for suggestions when I'm ready. But I do want to start building some 3D models for my tables at cons for the Wiz. Not figures, but maybe a building or something from the strip that would be an interesting piece for a location, or make a business card holder, or something magic. Like what I'm going to do is I'm going to make up some new Wiz cards, business cards with the QR code to the Instagram page, and I want something for that to be held in special.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I might take a what do you call it, like an old business card holder of mine, and build around it so it has something.
Yeah, you can, if you. I mean, if you guys want to cycle through some of my maps, if you want to go through
I'm
that.
gonna get to it.
Those are what we call book illustrations. That's when you have like a novel. That was for the light novel I'm writing right now. And so when I needed to draw a destination of a night of where my character, that's kind of where my character starts in his story. So so when I write my light novel, I use that as a front picture. Right now, it's I mean, I haven't posted the words. I only posted the pictures. I have plenty of pictures of that. But yeah, these are that's like the mess. I call it the mess. That's when I take all the stuff that's backlogged, and I think you saw them already painted. But that's when there's all their backlog. Everything right now is either painted or backlogged because I create so much, and sometimes I just don't finish them because the angles aren't right, the geometry is not right, and I don't like how it looks. They just they ended up in the trash sometimes. But these are my best ones. Oh yeah, these are me drawing robots. Like I said, the game we're
Oh,
designing. Yeah, these are all these robots you could draw. Oh, whoa, go back, go back. The map. Right, that's the crazy other map.
this is the one that I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, is there a piece of that alone on the map if I go through it?
No, that's me drawing like have a Metal Gear. That's my logo. That's gonna be the logo for my books series. That's gonna be the logo.
Nice. It's a
Yeah.
nice piece. Let's pass some robots. Here's a map.
Yeah, as you can see, like it's very detailed, and I'm still drawing it. And then I'll redraw it because that's just for me working through it, like just for me working through it.
More robots. I want to find the maps that you're.
Yeah, it's still there. Oh, okay. Damn.
That's
Sometimes,
nice.
sometimes I'm like, did I draw that? Did I draw that? Yeah, no, I just draw that. I don't know, man. I sometimes things come to me, and that's like a couple of story maps that I have. That's just
Whoa.
like a.
Sorry, I didn't mean to click.
That's
Keep
fine.
talking. I'll go back to it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on my own. I'm looking at my own artwork and like reminiscing what I like about it. Sometimes, like the good thing is, like I'm like one of those I'm always very highly critical of my own work,
Yeah.
and like I will look back and it's like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have drawn that way. You know, like I do that all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is like what I wanted to draw because I don't think you can see it. If you go to my site, Andrew Frank Rodriguez Art, it's a submerged city. That is my go back. That was a project that I was supposed to publish. It was supposed to be an easy Kai map.
Okay.
I accidentally put that map in water solution that dissolved the paper. I had to wait until the drawing dried out so that I could pick up the remaining pieces of this beautiful map because it turned into pulp. But I saved the majority of it. So what I did was I pieced it back together with some some I took not eraser gum. What's it called? It's a gum. The other gum that allows you to add gold. It's a gum that you put to make to put a gold leaf in it, and I put a gold leaf in the center of every single that's cracked, kind of like the Japanese pottery that they did with gold. I did that with my own with the map I destroyed. Like I'm telling you right now, I took me a weeks to wonder how to fix this thing. I had to wait until like the paper was it for all intents and purposes. That was a destroyed art piece.
Yeah.
And I brought it back with like just playing around with because that was supposed to be an easy Kai map. So it was supposed to be the map, but I ended up drawing another map for that, which became part of the client. But when I showed him this map, he also liked that picture, so it's also his book.
Nice.
He likes the fact that I took the effort of trying to save a drawing that it took me a month to draw, and it's a nice size. It's a nice size. It's not 11 by 17, 12 by 20, like 21 by 29, like 21 by 29.
Okay, I don't know
It's
that.
big. I mean, it's what I think. No, I'm sorry. It's let me see, where is it? Okay, no, it was 11 by 14. Sorry, it was 11 by 14.
Okay.
So I drew it. It dissolved. I waited until it dried. So I didn't even pick it up until like it was fully dry. That's Castle Frankenstein. That's the Frankenstein map. I sold it at the horror convention, Chiller, which Yeah, I sold that map. I also have the Sunken City of Relay of Call of Cthulhu. I have Elizabeth Bathory's Castle. And these are just maps. That's an actual Age Dragons map for game. That's another Age Dungeons and Dragons map. The second one is actually for a mod, for a module for I believe it was used for a Pathfinder. I think. I mean, I just sold it. I don't know what happened. I just know the persons who were involved were either from Paizo or from another indie game. Oh, that's one of my first big drawings. That's the interior of a dwarven castle, and if you can see down to the floor, it goes all the way down to different levels. So
Yeah.
I actually took the time to actually show you a downward angle into different levels of that dwarven city.
It's a nice piece. That type of perspective is difficult.
I sell that as a print at conventions. It's highly. It's a lot of talk. A lot of dialogue goes through that. Like what would you think? Also, the other one with the one you passed over with the face, with the giant face in front. That's the one that you know Keith Williams.
Of course.
Yeah, he stood there and he looked at my map for that map for hours, and he goes, "Wow!" I mean, Keith Williams, man, he does Harlem Freedom Fighters, right?
Mm.
He does a bunch of cool comics, and he just I know I'm butchering that comic book name because it's getting to the point where I'm like my brain is mush.
Well, we'll end soon.
That's okay. That people, that one that looks like boobs. It's not boobs. It's a map that doesn't look like boobs. Those are not boobs. That's a hollow Earth map.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, that's a macro sun, but everyone calls it the boob map. That was unintentional, but it's a map that looks like boobs. Okay, whatever. Sure, tattoo it in your body if you want, ladies. I don't mind. Okay. I saw this great artist. I saw this great artist. Okay.
Let's look at this map. This will be the last one I pull up. But
see, that's where I was talking about the destroyed piece.
Yeah.
I left that, and here's the thing: the color, I got the color technique great. I got the textiles great, but the destroyed pieces, it devastated me because for months it just stayed like that, on a mantle, and then I just got the idea from just looking at some again, my point of reference is I saw this pottery with broken things, but that's the original drawing.
The original before it was destroyed.
Yeah, before it was destroyed. Yeah, that was
beautiful.
And yeah, sometimes it happens. Sometimes you have a great masterpiece, and weathering in time does destroy it. It's also kind of poetic because that's what happens to a lot of ancient maps. That's why we don't have a lot of maps. We don't have a lot of historical maps around because of time and poor preservation.
By the way, I put Andrew's Instagram, and now I'm going to take his Facebook, and that is going to be in the comments so you guys can follow him on Instagram and Facebook. Earlier, I also put Shadow Clay Rabbit's Instagram in there because we were talking about him.
Well, he again, I like to give people the new term is give people their flowers.
Yeah.
So I gave people my friend Ralph right now. He probably he has another podcast right now. I'll probably, if I can, I'm probably going to start commenting on his Instagram. Maybe he'll get me on. I think he wanted to get me on today. I'm not sure if it was going to happen. That's fine. I tell man, don't worry about it. But I'm a big supporter of everyone's Torres. Mark Torres, he was another guy that I really liked, and he's another podcaster I follow. That's also Dominic and Mark. Dominic
Yeah.
Soprano, the guy who's like the
They,
best
they,
sculptor.
they, there's a lot of fantastic podcasts out there.
But the thing is, they're our friends,
Yeah,
and
and it's hard to watch all
watch
of
them
them.
all. So it's like, hey, you watch my podcast? Which one, man?
Yeah, I'm
It's
behind
like,
on
it's like,
so
which
many.
one you're in, man? I love you guys. So, and the good thing is, I'll always catch it later, and I always like, oh my god, what was the one you like? I have like a whole list of like podcasts that I watched, and one of them is like the Written Writ, yours, of course,
Thank you.
and came to the radio. I have a friend of mine who does a podcast on books. He hasn't done it for a few minutes. My friend Adam, he has a thing called the Barking Alien. If you need a person who talks about Dungeons and Dragons, but he's more of I keep telling him he needs to do a podcast, talk to people like us, like you, who give him like and he has this great like history lesson of like just great RPG games from. I play with him because he's like again one of my mentors. I don't want to Tim Hitchcock. He's another guy who was I've mentioned his name 4 times, and I'll mention his name again. He's the one who basically said, "Hey man, I got this project. I want you to do a dungeon," and he's the one who kind of legitimized my profession, because all the time I was doing a lot of indie games, but they were like there. But once you get like the big commercial name, that is Wizard of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons, and DM Guilds. Through DM Guilds, I did a game called oh God, it's been so long.
I think I had you on the show about it the last time.
Yeah. I mentioned in the show last time. And I miss creating games like that. I didn't, and I'm going to tell around. I definitely didn't mind the hectic schedule and the even the deadlines for it. I made sure I made the deadlines. Yeah. I made sure I was overachiever, number one, always energetic, because it was just an opportunity, and I didn't want to let anyone down. And I still want to do it again. And a lot of people like complain about, what about the pressure? Like, it's an opportunity that 100,000 gamers are out there who get this opportunity would understand when I say I want them to do my best, and not try, do, like, not try, do, like, Star Wars. I did my best, and I gave my whole heart into that project, and it was great. I got my art director's credit, and it was all because he said, "Hey, look at this book," and I said, "That's not good. That's good. I got a picture of that. You want that instead?" I got it, and and then he goes, "Hey, why don't you just work on this book?" So you guys never miss opportunity. Okay, it's getting into the 2-hour mark soon.
Yep, yeah, so we're gonna hit 2 hours in like a minute or so. Don't worry about it. Listen, I don't mind. I don't mind.
I do, man, because I do. Don't worry about it, because it's gonna be 11. People are like,
yeah, I know. I do want to. I don't want to say get into bed early or go to bed early. I'll get into bed early. I don't fall asleep till about 1 a.m. So I'll be up drawing or reading or watching something. But,
YouTube techniques.
Yeah, it's not, well, usually at night that's not what I watch, but that is those are my daytime background noises when I'm working, but not having to watch videos, because a big part of my day job for certain points is watching videos, and so when that's going on, obviously I don't watch anything or listen to anything, but sometimes I throw music on. And I honestly, it's funny. I throw like gaming music on. I'll throw on a soundtrack to Lord of the Rings. Sometimes it's just very calming and relaxing to me. Those things, you know.
Yes. One of my favorite soundtracks I listen to when I'm playing. What I'm thinking of when I'm playing my D&D games.
Yeah.
And when I'm creating, it's usually a Skyrim. I'll definitely throw in Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess. These are the Zelda games. These are the Zelda games. Yeah. I know for a fact there's a great Japanese RPG. It's not RPG, but it's a great manga, or it's like a manga short. It's like all these different manga short, but the soundtrack, it's called Memories. It's an RPG back in the day called not RPG. It's an anime called Memories, and it's all these great. It's like a anthology of like different writers and artists, and it's basically sci-fi. But they had such a great sound score, so I put that on. But yeah, when you're working, it's getting so right now it's late, but but here's the thing, like this is my last point, because when you're building an adventure in D&D, when you're building an adventure in games, when you're building an adventure even in story form, you have to have a destination. So one of my processes has always been you create your character, you create the world that he wants to live in, that you want him to live in, and when you have those parallels, it allows you to write the story. It allows you to ground the character development. And so, like, when I'm drawing a big ass map, it's almost impossible, because you cannot really tell where. So the cool thing, there's really no borders when it comes to character. So everything you design in that map, from the cities to the forests, pretend that you're actually a character walking through those grounds, and it actually helps me process, like a person flying over, or an actual person walking. It's kind of a weird theater of mind thing. I think it's my brother was telling me, like, that's kind of crazy, but it was like but I don't think people get it. Like, when it comes to creating these, and you're building your adventure, I think in your head you have to build it first. Now, when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, you're rolling dice. Hey man, your adventures go into random. But when you're really doing like a focused story, take your main piece, your main character, your main player character, and create the world you want him to live in. And this is what I'm saying. Like, you could give him a great ending, bad ending, horrible world, cool world. You never know. Like, oh yeah, you really love this character. I created this great character. Let me put him in a zombie apocalypse. You know, so like that. It's funny. Like, it's like some people don't think about it, but George R. Martin wrote some great characters, but gave them a really horrible life. You understand? Like, and then you have some like characters in great books, like I mentioned, the Black Cauldron, whereas he's a kid who is into like a really dangerous situation, but you could tell the writer made it sure where his hero's journey wasn't as, like, it was scary, but it was, he could solve it. And I feel bad for anybody who was like, oh, I want to kill a character. It takes so much time to make a character. It takes so much to make a character.
Sometimes characters need to die to move the story along. Or
he needs to be tortured. Like, I feel sorry for Peter Parker. Hey, Peter Parker, you're great. Here's all the crap you have to go through.
Yeah. No, I get that. Anyway, man, let me wrap this up.
Actually, when I'm doing this, I should be like, yeah, this is my wizard. This is the wizard. So like, cool hat and stuff. But you create your own adventure. And that's my last point. Like, when you're creating your characters, try to create a map for that character that reflects his environment, and so it probably helps you build a better story for your character.
And I'm going to end with hire Andrew to design your map for you for whatever you need, because he will give you an amazing map. His commissions are open.
I also draw characters.
Yep.
I also make characters, but maps are my you know, my maps are my go. You know,
it's a specialty, but he's got a
my
lot
specialty.
of other skills.
That's the word, right? Yep.
Yeah, it's your specialty, but you got other skills. Andrew's commissions are open. So check him out. His links to his Facebook and Instagram are in the comments there. Thank you for coming on. Always a pleasure chatting. We will get together.
Thank you, guys. I can't draw your children though, or your dog. Sorry.
I could do that in cartoon version, and my commissions are open as well. Just so you know. Anyway,
I could. I'm just going to draw them as a fantasy character.
You know what? It's funny. I don't want to make this go on longer, but I've been drawing a lot more and more fantasy. You know, I love. I'm more of a for some reason I love the world of fantasy. I draw more sci-fi, but I've been drawing more fantasy lately because I just want to get back into it. I have some ideas, but I just want to say, Dylan, good night. Thank you. Joel, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. And Andrew, thank you for coming on.
No problem.
You know,
thank you for allowing me to be rambling.
It's okay. It's better on my voice. You know, it saves me from getting laryngitis. So anyway, guys, thank you all for tuning in. I'll be back next week with another guest. Probably Monday I will be doing my live draw. Just look out for an ad. I haven't officially decided, but I didn't do one last week, and I feel like I should do a live draw. And I'm thinking doing traditional, so that should be fun. Anyway, guys, have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.